Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about sinking funds, why we use them, why they're awesome, what they actually are, and I'm going to show you our sinking funds in our Capital One account, show you our actual account and what we are saving and how it looks. We're going to start a couple new sinking funds, so I'll walk you through the process of how to start your own sinking fund if you already have an account, and we will go over some ideas for sinking funds that you might want to start. Okay, first, I feel like sinking funds is something that when you're new to budgeting, it seems overwhelming and just scary and confusing. And do you need them? Do you not need them? What the heck are they? Why does anyone do this? I know that's how I felt because I did not use them for ages. I had this channel even and had done a ton of budgeting work and paid off debt, and I still wasn't using sinking funds because I just felt a little overwhelmed by the concept. So we did not use sinking funds for way too long. We finally started using them earlier, a few months back actually, and they have been a game changer. They have eliminated so much stress. If you follow Enneagram, I'm a 6, so everything I do is based on security and stability, and sinking funds, they are amazing for that. They have eliminated so much stress from our monthly budgeting, and they have saved us in a few cases. Sinking funds aren't really complicated. They're just a savings account with a purpose. They are accounts you save into regularly for an expected or unexpected purchase, but you know you're going to be spending that money. It's things you're saving for spending on that are irregular, not monthly, sometimes they're yearly, or they're just unexpected. They're hard to budget for items. So basically, you're setting up accounts for all of the stuff that is hard to fit into a normal monthly budget. They are little mini savings accounts for stuff you know you will be spending on in the future. Sinking funds make saving for unexpected and irregular items stress-free and guilt-free. They just make it so much easier. You set aside a little bit each month until you've hit your goal for an item. So if you've got something 6 months away, say a vacation, you'll take the time that you have until that event, divide it by the number of months you have, so 6, and you'll just save that 1/6 amount each month until you hit your goal and date. This is something that makes budgeting so much easier. And honestly, once we stopped trying to cash flow every single thing that came up that was either $100 or $500, it made things a lot easier because we have predictable sinking fund budgeting amounts. Sinking funds honestly are just designed to help you spend money stress-free. In general, sinking funds are based on your life, so you might not have the same sinking funds that other people do. Sinking funds include things that are large one-time expenses, so things like a car or a big vacation or a cruise, something that you know is coming, it's an expense, but it's bigger than something you can fit into 1 month's budget. You can also do sinking funds for yearly or quarterly bills. If you have something like car insurance that you pay every 6 months, or a life insurance bill that you pay every quarter, or if you have something like an annual water bill, that's something that you can set up a sinking fund for and save up the amount until you hit your goal and then have to pay it. Sinking funds can also be yearly expenses that you know are coming, things like Christmas or new clothes at the beginning of the school year for your kids. They're things you know you're going to be spending money on, but you want to save up smaller amounts instead of dropping hundreds of dollars all at once. You can also do sinking funds for unexpected expenses that you know are going to come up. These are things like car repairs. You know your car is eventually going to break and you're going to need to fix something and you're going to need money for that. You just don't know when it's going to happen. So you can set aside a little bit of money each month and get a bigger amount so that when a car repair happens, you're ready for it. This has been the best sinking fund for us personally. We've had a car repair fund, so when we need a new battery, when we needed a new tire, when things have happened with our cars, we've just pulled the money straight out of the car fund and paid for it. It has eliminated so much stress, where in the past we would have freaked out, wondered where the money was coming from, and been really stressed about it. The first time I used our car repair sinking fund and paid for a car repair with no stress, I knew that sinking funds had changed my life. If you're setting up sinking funds for the first time, an easy way to go about this is to look at your bills and what you spent in the last year or so and see where any big expenses came up. So you can check back and look and see if anything happened in a certain month that was just overwhelming, or if anything led you into credit card debt. That might be something you want to set up a sinking fund for. Then of course there's the sinking funds that are common for everybody. So things like car repairs, home repairs, Christmas, holidays, birthdays, gifts, clothing, car insurance. Some people do car tags. Some people do vacations and travel funds. You can do medical expenses or pet expenses, kid expenses, because those get expensive. And then the final thing is what type of sinking fund you want to do. There's several different kinds. We mostly use either cash envelopes for our sinking funds or multiple accounts in Capital One. So you can do cash envelopes, or you can do multiple accounts with each individual account being its own sinking fund, or you can do one big account and then have some way of tracking it. Some people use a spreadsheet, some people use an app. It just really depends on what you like to do. We personally have found that having separate accounts has worked really well for us. Whichever way you decide to set up your sinking funds, the point is to save up for things that will come along that won't throw you off your budget and won't send you into debt or running for your emergency fund. You want to have these sinking funds set up so that this is money that you know you'll be spending, so it doesn't need to be earning major amounts of interest or anything. These are designed to keep you out of trouble, which is what most of us need with money, especially if we've had bad histories of getting into debt and making bad choices. Sinking funds are best little friends.
Now let's go over sinking funds that you will be setting up. So if you've never done sinking funds, you need to spend a few minutes thinking about which funds you actually want to start with. When I started, we didn't do as many as we have now, and we still don't do as many as some other people do that have been doing it longer. So you'll want to start with the biggest purchases and biggest expenses that you can think of that have come along and kind of wrecked your budget in the past. So these are going to be things that are large one-time expenses, things that are yearly or quarterly bills, things that are yearly expenses that are bigger, several $100s that you expect but are still kind of expensive, or they're things that are unexpected expenses that you know will eventually happen, but you can't exactly plan when they happen. These are the types of expenses that sinking funds are for, and no one can decide this for you. There are common ones that a lot of people use and have, but ultimately this is up to your season of life, and it will change with your season of life. You may have a baby sinking fund for a while, or you may have a vacation sinking fund, or you may not. These are things that really depend on your lifestyle and your season of life. So that just depends on you. So types of sinking funds, you'll want to base these off of what kind of sinking fund you're doing. You can do cash envelopes. You can do multiple savings accounts, which is what we mostly do. And I will be showing you my accounts after this. And then you can also do one big savings account with tracking. You can use a spreadsheet, or you can use an app like EveryDollar that has it built in so that you can track your sinking funds. It really just depends on your personality and how you like to track things. So let's go over a few examples of sinking funds that you may want to start. These are things that are really common, and a lot of people use them for sinking funds. These are things like car repairs, Christmas, pet expenses, things like gifts and birthdays. It's things that you know you'll be spending money on and want to get a jump on it. So these are common ones, but of course, if you don't give gifts, then you wouldn't have this sinking fund. It's things like vacations and travel, any kind of trips you might have to take or want to take. Some people do car tags, some people do car insurance. Car repairs is probably our favorite one, but it really depends. If you don't have a car, then you wouldn't have any car sinking funds. You can do them for life insurance. You can do them for anything like that. There's a lot of different options. Okay, now we're going to walk through some actual sinking funds that you may have. These are just examples, and kind of show you how you would decide how much you save either per month or per paycheck. This will just show you how to set up your accounts. So let's say that your sinking funds are going to be Christmas, which is once a year, and you know that it's on December 25th. And you know that you want to save up $600 because that will cover all the expenses of all the gifts. So what you do is, if you're doing it monthly, you just count up the months until December. So you wouldn't count the month that it's happening, but you would count up how many months you have from now until the time that you need the money. So that would be 4 months from now, and then you would just divide 600 by 4, which is 150. So you would have to save $150 a month to hit your goal. Monthly can be really useful if you're into budgeting and you have multiple paychecks, but if you're paid bi-weekly, it can be a little bit harder because you get more paychecks in certain months. It's also easier just to do it by check if you are a single person. So what you do if you are budgeting your sinking fund based on paychecks is just count up the number of paychecks between your next paycheck and the date that you're going to need the money. So between now and the end of Christmas, when I would want to have all my stuff finished before Christmas actually hits, I have 12 paychecks. So that means I divide my goal of $600 by 12, and that gives me the amount that I need to save per paycheck. So if I divide 600 by 12, I have $50. So that means I have to save $50 every time I have a paycheck. If I want to move it back one more paycheck, so I have more time to shop in December, I would do it by 11, and that would mean I would need to save 54 or 55-ish dollars each paycheck. So that's just how you do it by paycheck, and really it depends on if you are more comfortable doing a budget monthly and you know that everything will come out of one paycheck, or if you want to do it by paycheck, it's a little bit easier because you know every time you get paid you have to send $50 to the Christmas sinking fund. Let's do another example of car insurance, which a lot of people pay every 6 months just to get a better rate. That is what we do now. And let's say your car insurance is due on October 15th. So instead of waiting till October 15th and trying to come up with the full $450 that month, you're going to start a car insurance sinking fund. So you count up how many months are until October. So you'll see that July is already halfway through and October is in 3 months. But if we want the money already set aside before October, we only have 2 months to save. So that would mean we divide 450 by 2 and we have 225 that we need to save in August and September so that we have the money. If we do this based on paychecks, we have 450, and then we count up the number of times we get paid until October 15th when we need the money. So in this case, I look at my paychecks and I get paid every other Friday, so I just count them up between now, the middle of July, and October, the beginning of October. So I will have 6 paychecks, so I divide 450 by 6, and that means for every paycheck that I have between now and the time that my bill is due in October, I need to save $75 per paycheck. So I'll put $75 into the car insurance sinking fund every paycheck, and then I'll have $450 in October to pay the bill. This makes it way less stressful than trying to pay $450 out of our normal regular budget in October. Let's try another bill. I just made this one up as an example. It's like something like homeowners association fees or something like that. If you have a bill that's $225 and you know that it's due 12 months from now. So this is the easiest way. If you haven't started these in the middle of the year, if they're all due a year from now, you just take the amount and divide it by 12 to get the total. So in this case, you'll need to put away $18.75 a month for the full year. Then you will have the $225 and you'll be ready to pay the bill when it comes around. So if you're doing this by paycheck, you'll just take the number of paychecks you have and divide it by that amount. So being paid bi-weekly, I get 26 paychecks a year, and that means I will be dividing it by 26. So I only have to put away $8.65 if I am going to do it by paycheck. So that makes it a lot easier than trying to come up with $225 when the bill is due. For ones that are lower, you can always try to cash flow them, but if you are doing sinking funds regularly, this just evens out your budget. You're making it easier on yourself so that these bills don't overwhelm you when they come up. So for things that are variable and you have more control over, if they're not bills but they're just spending accounts, for those I like to just set them up with an amount that seems reasonable, and I know that will build over a couple months until I have something that I am able to spend. So for clothes, for example, maybe you want to do $20 a month, so that means just every paycheck you put $10 away into a clothing fund, and then in a few paychecks you're able to buy a new shirt or some shoes or something that you want that is clothing related. Same thing with every other type of account. For these, it's not as important to be as precise. So as I'm showing you, if you do gifts, $30 a month, you can put that away and have $360. Or if you want to do it exactly, you can put 13.8 away per paycheck, or you can just do 15 per paycheck and have a little bit extra. It's kind of up to you on these, since they're not as precise and don't have an exact bill due.
Okay, now I'm going to show you our actual sinking funds in my Capital One account. I will be switching over to show you my account, and we will go through everything that we have set up.
So here is our account, and this is all of our 2 checking accounts, and then of course our sinking fund. So you can see our car repair fund, our tech replacements, my mom's birthday / beach trip fund, and these are the accounts that we use as sinking funds. So I'm just going to go into settings and show you that this is how we nickname all of our accounts, to interesting little things that help us keep track. When you first create an account, it just shows you checking or savings and then the number, but we like to rename everything so that we can see what the actual account is for, and this helps us when we transfer money, because it's hard to remember just numbers. But when you scroll through and you see tech replacements or beach fund or car repair, it's a lot easier to travel. So to set up an account, you just go to Capital One's site, you go under checking and savings, you click savings, and then you scroll down to open an account. We are going to open a new account for us, and if you have a Capital One account already, you'll just log in. If you don't have an account, I recommend you sign up. I will leave a link down below. If you put in at least $250, you will get a $25 bonus, and I will get $20 as well. So if that helps you get started, I highly recommend it. If you don't want to stick with Capital One, at least get the bonus and then go elsewhere. You know, free money is free money. So if you want to set up a joint account, as you can see, you have to do that once you've already set up the account. My mother-in-law asked me about that, so I wanted to include it in this video because she is now using Capital One for her sinking funds, and I'm so proud. So getting started is really quick. It took a little bit under 5 minutes to get started. I do already have an account, so it just goes through and checks all my info, and then when you start your account, you can fund it from any of the accounts you already have, or you can say no thank you and just open it with $0 in it. Since this is going to be our car insurance fund, and I already know that I need $55 a month, I'm going to transfer $55 into this new account and get it set up and ready to go. So as you can see, everything, it verifies that everything looks right and you're transferring the amount that you said. And since it looked right, I went ahead and opened it. So it will show up as the first new account. And you can see here, it just says savings and then the 4 digits at the end of the bank account number. So what I like to do is go in here and make sure everything looks good and that the money has transferred. And then you can see on your account all the transfers in and out. If you want to make this a joint account, you would go in here under the account services and settings and add a joint account holder so that it is a joint account that you can both access. We do have some that are joint accounts, and then some are set up under my husband's Capital One account. We both have joint checking access, and then we have our own personal checking accounts as well. That's just how we have it set up. But you can also go in through here and set up an automatic savings plan. If you know the amount that you want to transfer every month into your sinking fund, this can make it super easy. You can set it up and it will pull out every month and you just don't have to worry about it. So if you don't like the manual aspect, you can set this up, and then your sinking funds are on autopilot, and then the money is there when you need it. So I went into settings on my account, and I am now changing the nickname of the account to car insurance. This just means I won't see the 360 savings anymore. I'll see car insurance whenever I look at my accounts. This just makes it easier so that I know what the account is for. So I'm never tempted to use that car insurance money to pay for something else or to go out to eat or anything like that. I found that once the money's in the savings accounts for the sinking funds, I really don't touch it much. There have been a couple times, especially in the beginning when I was getting used to it, where I did move money around, but I got past that very quickly because I didn't like the feeling of cheating my sinking funds. So I also went in and changed my personal account to bill pay checking because that's what we use my account for. So I just included that in this video because this is kind of how we have our money set up, and it's fun to show you guys what we do. And now I'm just going to walk you through the process again as I open another account. If you click the link at the bottom of your account that says products, it'll just kick you back out to the original area where you go through the process of opening a savings account. It will make you log in again, which is a slight frustration, but it does go really fast. So the process will take just a couple minutes, and you can do this as many times as you need. I think there is a limit of maybe like 20 savings accounts. I'd have to double check that, but as you can see, we have quite a few and we still have room to add more. So it's unlikely that you'll run out of savings accounts for sinking funds, but if you do, you can always use sinking funds as cash envelopes or another account. So I'm setting up my Christmas account now. I decided that I'll just start it with $10 just so that I have a specific Christmas account. Last year I included the Christmas sinking fund that we had in a yearly savings account, and I like the idea of having this separate better. So I am going to do a separate Christmas savings account for a sinking fund this year. So I went in and changed the 360 savings to Merry Christmas Club because a lot of people mentioned on my Christmas in July video that Christmas clubs were a thing at, or are a thing at, certain credit unions, and I liked that idea so much. So we are going to start our very own Christmas Club sinking fund. After renaming my account to Christmas Club, I drug it down in the reorder accounts section. You are able to drag and drop so that you can see which accounts you want to see at the top. I like to have the more important or more often used ones at the top for me, and that is how we do our Capital One sinking funds.
So that is sinking funds. They are amazing. They have eliminated so much stress from our lives. They ease up a lot of the strain that you can put yourself under trying to perfectly guess a budget every month when you can't predict life. You can't predict that June is the month you're gonna break your foot, or July is the month that you're gonna have a flat tire, or August is the month when your air conditioning goes out. You can't predict when those things are necessarily going to happen, but they do happen and life happens. So that's why sinking funds are so amazing, and it's nice to have little amounts of money set up specifically for certain things. So that way when life happens, you're ready and you don't have to stress and you don't have to worry. You just pay for it and move along. So that's why we love sinking funds, and I hope that this has been really helpful for you. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'm not an expert and I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take my advice. That's not what this is for. This is for entertainment and inspiration purposes. So just take what I have shared and check into it yourself, get some professional advice, and set up some sinking funds because they will help you and they will save your life. For real.